Welcome back. In the last video, we went over an introduction of what we're going to make, and we also played a rough demo kind of outline game to what it's going to look like at the end. But ours is going to be more polished and more detailed because we're going to spend more time. So I think I'll put the links to downloading Unity and Unity Hub in the description, but if anyone needs me to do a kind of setup video about downloading Unity or anything like that, just post it in the comments and I'll get to it. But so once you have Unity Hub and Unity downloaded, you need to just go ahead and open up Unity Hub. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to discuss my installs with you. I'm currently working on 2020.1.1 F1, which isn't the latest one, I believe, but it's the latest one I've been working on, kind of. I think anything after 2019 should work for what we're going to do. In terms of what kind of supports you need, I've got a load of supports on it, but what we're doing, I think you basically just want to get the WebGL build support, because right at the end we're going to be building this for a web application and kind of publishing it to itch.io. But if you don't want to do that as well, you don't need to install this support package. So let's head over to the projects tab, and so I've already got it created here because there was a recording error, so I just had to go back and do it again. But I'll go over and delete everything from that, and what we gotta do is you need to create a new project on the 2020 version or whatever version you'd like to use. And since we're doing it as a 2D project, what you want to do is select this box here, which is setting up a 2D template, and then name it whatever you'd like there. So project loop v2 or v1 for you, it doesn't matter, it's just path already exists because I've got it. Then what you got to do is once you've done that, just hit create here and I'll start making the project. I'm just going to go open the one I've already made. So my Unity takes a bit of time to start up, so I'm going to pause the video here and play it, resume it once Unity is opened up. Okay, so my Unity is booted up. I'm just going to go delete that earlier and set it to default. So what we're going to do first of all, by the way, what I'm going to do here is, so that all beginners can kind of understand it, at the end I'm going to go over all the aspects of the Unity editor. So if it's your first time using Unity, you'll understand it all. But if it's not your first time using Unity, or you already know this stuff, then feel free to just skip past it. That's why I'm doing it at the end, so you can just skip to the next video when I say I'm getting into talking about the beginner stuff. Right, so first thing we want to do is we want to right click here and create an empty game object. So a game object is something in our game. It can be anything, it can be a sprite, it can be audio, it can be anything. Just anything inside our game class is a game object. And this is one I just want to keep empty, and I'm going to move it to the top above the camera here, and I'm going to name it Game Manager. I'll get into what this is for later, but for now this is just here in preparation for something we're going to do later. And on this transform object, if it's not already at 0, you just need to go and change all these values to 0. Or the quick way to do that is also right click reset, just set it all to 0. Now we need to do the same thing again, so create empty, and we're going to name this one Audio Manager. And again, set all this stuff to 0. So it should, and this one should go above Game Manager. Right, so one more thing I think to set it up is we go into main camera, and this is the camera object here. So this controls kind of what the camera is outputting to us, and the camera is what the player sees through. So the player won't see how we see it, so we can scroll around the game and all that kind of stuff, unless we implement those kind of features, but the player is going to see through the camera. And right now the camera is rendering its background to be this blue color. As you've seen in the demo game, what we want is kind of, we want it to be black. so it looks like space. And so to do that, in the main camera object, we go down and scroll to the camera object, and we need to find this kind of option that says background, which you need to select it and move it to black. Yeah, and that's all that we need to do to get our background looking black. Right, so I think that's all the kind of setup we're going to do for now. So if you already know all the basics about the inspector layout and all that, feel free to skip to the end of the video or move on to the next video. But right now what we're going to do is we're going to discuss the basics of the Unity editor. So over here on the left, what we've got is something called a hierarchy. And in the hierarchy, what we've is where all the stuff that's in the game goes. Where we can see everything that goes into the game, into the project. You'll all see it all there. As you can see, the cameras there, and these objects created are also there. And one thing you want to remember is if you want something to be viewed above something else, say on a canvas, which is kind of a UI. We'll go into that later as well, how to make canvases and UIs and all that kind of stuff. But if you need something to be in front of something, like how on Word we say bring front and back, the item you want to be on the front needs to be above the other item in the hierarchy. And the same for center back, it needs to be below. Yep, so that's all for the hierarchy. Let's move on to the project tab here. The project tab is where we see all the kind of assets and stuff that makes up our game. Here's what we see is actually in the game. Here's where we see what can be in the game and what we can use for the game. Kind of like a toolbox, you might say. You can see we've got two main level folders here. That's assets and packages. Packages is used by Unity editor to set everything up. So you can see we've got virtual studio stuff, UI stuff. And you don't need to mess with this for now. This is the assets folder, and this is for us. This is where we put everything we kind of need to use. You can see it's got one folder already, scene, and level 1. By default, it should be named sample scene. If you want to say level 1, like I've got it, you just right click, click rename, and then name it whatever you'd like. And it'll ask you if you want to reload the project. You'll have a little pop up here. Just say reload project and it'll set that up for you. Now back in the apps, if you want to create, all you got to do is right click, create, and then you've got all these options. So you could create a folder to store stuff in, or you could create stuff like a C# script. And we're going to be using C# for the programming aspects of this. So we will be using this quite often. And we've got all this other stuff, and when we use something from here, I'll get into it. I'll explain it in more detail. Let's move on to the inspector, because it's kind of more important. We select Game Manager. We can see here the inspector showing us all the components within it. So over here in the hierarchy, we see all the options, and over here we go into a deeper level component on the object. You can kind of think of it that the let's say all these objects and all these components are what's on the paper. You can see here that the game manager currently only has this transform, and a transform refers to where this object is in terms of the level. So if I change this X value, you can see the circle representing the game manager is moving. Okay. Same with rotation and scale, but let's get that. One thing I'm going to do that you don't really need to do is I'm going to add something that we can see on it. So don't worry if you don't understand this for demonstration purposes, but I'll get into all these kind of adding components and all that later. I'm just going to add something called a sprite renderer. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me an option to select a sprite, which I'm going to select that, and that means now we can actually see something in our game. You can see there we've got a tiny dot. What I should probably get into next is console. The console is where we can get kind of data about our game. So say you want something to happen in the game, or you want to see some kind of response. Say you click the button, but you don't want it to happen in the game, so you don't actually want it to happen yet. What you can do is you can ask it to print it to the console, and the line for that, which we'll get into later, is debug.log. But all it's going to do is it's going to print a small message for you into the console. Now you can see over here we've got these 3 tabs. This one over here, with the kind of speech bubble and exclamation mark in it, is for all those messages that I just said. So all the messages you want to tell yourself when something happens in debug.logs. Also some messages that the Unity editor wants to tell you, kind of message. This one over here, the triangle with the exclamation mark in it, is the warnings. So warnings are kind of something's not right in your program, but it's not broken. It's not like an error that needs to be fixed. It should be fixed, but it's not essential to fix it. The program will still run, and everything's going to work as expected. Or most things are going to work as expected. Over here you've got the errors tab, and this is what you want to worry about if you see something there. If you see an error coming from there, that means that something's broken with your program. A bit of code is wrong, there's an error, something like that. And if you see something there, that could mean that something's not going to function, or the program's broken and it's not going to run. You can see here that you can click these and toggle them. The purpose of that is, say you want to view just the errors and you don't want to see any of the messages or warnings. What you can do is you can click them to toggle hiding on them. So when I do this, although messages may come, you won't see them here. You'll only see these errors, and the same for anything else. If you want to hide the errors, you just click that and errors will be hidden. I'm going to ignore the animation for now because it's not the default layout. You'll only have project control here. I'll come to it later. I've just gone over the inspector. Let's move on to the scene view. The scene view is where you can influence, you can make your game kind of. So you can see we can navigate around this, and this is where we build aspects of our game. So you can see I've already got the game manager. In the hierarchy it's telling me it's there, but in the scene view I can see that it's literally there. And what I can do is I can use these options up here. And by the way, to move around the scene view like that, I'm holding down the scroll wheel, or you could also right click. You can see up here when I right click, it's changing into that hand icon, because the hand icon is what's used to move it around. It's the same with holding down the scroll wheel. So if you actually click there, left click would also do the same as middle mouse button and right click. What you've got here is the option to move something around. So if I select the game manager, and this is why I gave it that sprite so you can see, you can choose to move it around anywhere along, anywhere in your game. You can also use this kind of blue square here if you wanted to freehand move it. And you can see over here the transform component is changing as I move it around. Now, this one over here is if you click that, you can rotate your object in each direction. And you can see again in the transform that it is being rotated. I'm just going to reset that. Remember, to reset you've got to right click reset, or you can just manually set all these to 0 like that. What I'm going to do is again, I'm going to click on this. What the scale allows us the size of our object. So if I did that, you can see it's getting kind of wider. If I did this, you can see it's getting taller. And then this kind of square in the middle is the constraint 40 file used. So yeah, and you can see in the transform tab that's actually changed. This is the rectangle over here, and that's just if you want to kind of scale it precisely using a box, or you want to move it around just by grabbing it and moving it where you'd like. The tool over here is for rotation, scaling, and moving the transform. So you can see you can rotate it like that, and like I just showed you, you can also move it. You can also move it along wherever, and you can also scale it. Right. So I'm just gonna leave that like that for now. What we've got over here is the services tab, but I don't think it comes in the default. It's just kind of extra stuff like ads and cloud and all that kind of stuff. What you've got here is the game view. The game view is, oh wait, before I go into that, I should probably say what this is. This is the shaded view. And you can kind of change it to shader wireframe or wireframe and any of these kind of ways of seeing your objects. What the wireframe does is it basically shows what's actually being occupied in the space. So I'm just going to leave it on shaded for now. You see this 2D tab? This is automatically enabled when you start a 2D project, but not in a 3D project, because it basically means you want to see the scene in 2D view. This is useful for like making either a 2D game or like UIs, kind of that kind of stuff. But if you want to kind of do something 3D, and there is the need for that in 2D games as well, you just turn that off and you can see that everything comes in 3D. But for now, let's just leave it on 2D. Gizmos over here, that's basically if you want to hide something happening, if you don't want to see it. But for now, we're not going to mess with that. This is the game tab, and this is where you will see what the player is actually seeing. The player is not going to see this, the player is going to see this. And you can see how the background is black because what the camera is actually doing. Yeah, so what you've got is maximize on play, which you can, if you turn it off when you hit the play button, the game will be trained within kind of sizing that you've already made by resizing these panels and all that. But if you hit maximize on play and then run play, what you will see is that when the game loads, it's going to put the game in full screen for us. And the scale tab is if you want to kind of zoom in and out in the game, just like kind of fine tune aspects of it. Mute audio will, as it says, mute the audio. This is the sizing of your game. So say you were developing a mobile game, kind of want it on a sizing like 5:4, so you could kind of check that everything's running as expected. Displays, we're not going to go into now because we're only going to be using the one display for this game, this project. We've got the animator here, but I'm not going to go into it now because it's a pretty complex kind of tab, and we're going to have a separate video where we work on the animator and all that. Asset store is for downloading assets, but as I said, we're going to be making everything ourselves here, so we don't really need this tab. So if you'd like, you can just close the tab by right click and close the tab. What you've got here is the project settings, and this is all kind of like what you'd call the metadata of your project. You can add like icons and all that kind of stuff ready for it to be built so people can actually play it. We're going to be dealing with this more at the end. Over here you've got the layers, so you can either click edit layers to get into here and kind of change. You can add layers, add tags, and we'll get into this again when we actually use layers and tags. Finally, there's the layout. So you won't see this because this is what I've saved as this is what I like as a layout. What you will see as soon as you load up Unity is this default layout. So these are the only tabs you'll see. If you want to add tabs or anything, you can go into Window, and then any of these tabs. So say you wanted to add the, if say you accidentally got rid of the Project tab, you can go into General Project. If you want the Animation tab, you can go Animation, so on, so on. You've also got in these layouts a different kind of preset layouts that might be useful for you. Like I kind of like having it in this one, which is, I've already told you to save as my default layout. But you can also have a 2x3, which has the scene view, the game view here, and then everything else over here. You can also have 4 splits, which gives you 4 different views of the game. So you could kind of like move it around if you want to see one in 3D maybe. You want to see one just a wireframe, and then you want to kind of see one as the game view, and so it's up to you how you kind of like viewing all this kind of stuff. as I've already said with the default. You've got tool, which kind of arranges everything in this kind of manner. So you've got the big view, space to view everything over here, then all your assets, hierarchy, inspector, all that over there, and then wide, which is kind of the inverse. You've got that up there, and all the kind of data over here. I'm just going to switch it back to here for now, and I feel like that's all we need to cover in terms of setting up the project and going over the basics of what the Unity editor is like. So yeah, thanks for watching. We'll get straight into actually getting started next video. I don't know for sure, but we might possibly start writing some scripts for maybe the player movement or something like that. Yeah, but for now, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.